Now, hope is great, but it is still somewhat far off. Hope can change your attitude easily enough, but not your actual circumstances. That is what Israel experienced. They had the promises of a coming Messiah, and hope was theoretically born, but they still endured a 400-year period of silence where all they had was that hope. But God did what He promised He would do, and then the day came when hope was actually born. Majesty had finally arrived. Majesty was finally here on this earth. Hebrews chapter 1 verses 1 through 3 states that in the past God spoke to our ancestors through the prophets at many times and in various ways, but in these last days He has spoken to us by His Son. The Son is the radiance of the glory of God and the exact representation of His being. After sustaining all things by His powerful word, He provided purification for sins, and He sat down at the right hand of the Majesty of God in heaven. Jesus, while He walked on this earth, lived a perfect, sinless life and died a substitutionary death for us, so that according to Romans chapter 6 verse 4, we too may live a new life. Jesus changed everything for the Israelite nation, and He changes everything for us too. We can be new creations because the old has gone and the new has come. Majesty, finally here.
Through those conversations, I got to the point where I just realized that even though things seemed really bad at the moment and that I was really afraid, I was finally in the right place and on the right track to begin figuring these things out. I began to realize again that my life isn't about me. Instead, it's about Him and bringing Him the most glory. Galatians 2:20 states, I have been crucified with Christ, and it is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. The life that I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave Himself for me. That is one of my favorite verses. At some point over the last few months, through the course of these conversations, I began to worry less about how frightening worry can be, and I began to tell myself that no matter what my fears and worries are, I'm just going to follow God and pray each day that He'd mold me into the man He wants me to be. It'd be nice to say that all is fine again and that everything's completely better, but that's just not the case. I still worry about things. I still have doubts. The most recent worry I had came when I was thinking about what I was going to say in this video. I got really excited when I was asked to do it because I didn't think I had an interesting story to tell, but Sean said I did. I kept praying that God would just bless me with the right words to say, and it was at that moment that I was filled with all these doubts about my faith in Him. It's so like the enemy of God to try to steal glory away from Him. God has done a great work in my life, and when I was presented with the opportunity to share it with others, God's enemy tried to convince me not to share it. So I'm here now to say this. Do I have joy in my life? At times I do. Do I have peace? Yes, I do have that peace sometimes. But the point is this. So many times I felt like I couldn't go on. I felt like I was spiraling out of control. In those moments I had to choose one of two options. One, seek God and believe what He has said about me and to remain in fellowship, or two, try to find hope in something else. I'd already seen the destruction that comes from living a life displeasing to God and out of fellowship, so I never want to make that choice again. It's just too costly. Even though there are times when I feel like doubting and that God is just sitting on the sidelines, I know in my heart that He's got a purpose in all of this. The fact that I can even say that is evidence that God is working in my life. He's bringing me through this, and my life is being transformed in the process of these struggles. His power shows up best in my weakness.
I can't do it, Lord. There's no way I can take my precious 5-year-old into Mozambique with that horrible war going on there. It's not safe. Oh, Lord, if you truly want us to go to Mozambique, please show me in such a clear way that I will have no doubt that this is your will. I prayed this prayer after getting a phone call from our AIM leadership in England just before rushing off to the 1990 Lydia sale. At the sale, I was pleased to see Bernice Lundy, who listened to my concern about this possible change in African countries. "Let me share something with you," Bernice said. "When you were first being sent out as missionaries from Bethel, and Pastor Bob allowed the congregation to ask questions of you, someone said, 'How can you possibly imagine going to a place like Africa where you don't have a clue what you might face?' Your response, Susan, really touched my heart." "What did I say?" I asked. You said that God never takes us into a place that is absolutely intolerable. He will either change the situation so that it's okay to be there, or He will change me so that I can cope with whatever difficulties. As Bernice repeated words I had spoken years before, I looked into her eyes and I saw what I knew were the very eyes of Jesus. He was telling me to trust Him and obey. After I shared this with Randy and we prayed together, we knew the will of the Lord. Majesty was with us and taking us to Mozambique. After spending a year in Portugal learning the language, just 1 month prior to leaving for Mozambique, we learned the Civil War had come to its end. God changed both the situation and me.
We have a growing assurance that perhaps the reason the Lord is closing the door to our return to Angola is so that we can be involved in the preparation of a new generation of missionaries coming from other countries. And even though this new challenge was never before on our radar, it would allow us to multiply those serving with a mission, helping to meet our goal as a mission of Christ-centered churches among all African people.